Hey folks, it's Gabriel Willow again with another Wave Hill virtual nature tour. This week is National Pollinator Week. So I'm out in Prospect Park today to look for and learn about and appreciate some of our wonderful pollinators. Pollinators are, various types of animals. In the tropics, there's a lot of bats that are important pollinators. And then around here, hummingbirds are pollinators. And then a lot of insects like moths, flies, butterflies, and of course, most famously, bees. Let's see if we can find some. There's some kind of bramble flowers, something related to blackberry. It might actually be blackberry. Usually blackberries have white flowers and these are pink, but I think there's some variety there. And there's a little bee sipping that nectar. Yum. There's a little tiny bee here of some kind. Looking for all that nectar and pollen. Well, it's looking for the nectar. It's getting the pollen as a bonus. Crawling around on the stamens. Look, you can see the pollen on its legs. Delicious. This is a native plant called Penstemon pallidus, or pale beard tongue. It's a favorite of bees and other pollinators. There's a bumblebee here feeding on these white flowers. Let's see. There it is. Now these flowers have pretty long tubular shape, so it's really got to reach in there to get the nectar. There it is. So it's reaching way into the flower. It's got a long proboscis, like a straw, that it can suck the nectar up with, and in the process, the flower dabs the bee's body with pollen. There it goes. Then it goes to another flower. You can hear it buzzing to itself while it sucks up that tasty nectar. And as it goes from flower to flower, drinking nectar, it pollinates the flowers. And that's how they make seeds. There's a bumblebee here, and you can see the pollen on her back, on her abdomen, and on her legs. This big yellow ball of pollen there. She gathers the pollen while she's drinking nectar. She'll gather the pollen off of the hairs on her body and store it on her hind legs and then bring it back to the hive. The pollen's nutritious. They eat both nectar and pollen, and they use the nectar to make honey. Honeybees aren't the only bees that make honey. Bumblebees also make honey. They live underground, so it's hard to get to the honey. And this is a native wild bee, unlike honeybees, which humans brought from Europe. Another really iconic pollinator is the Monarch butterfly, which is famous for its epic migration to Mexico to overwinter. And here we have some of the Monarch butterfly's favorite host plant, which is a milkweed. You can see the milkweed is just about to flower. It's got big buds here. Oh, and there's a ladybug crawling around on the milkweed. Maybe looking for some aphids to eat. She might be an inadvertent pollinator. She doesn't eat nectar, so she doesn't do that much pollinating. I say she, could be a he. Here are the flower buds of this milkweed. It's not quite flowering yet, but when it does, might get some monarch butterflies visiting. They also lay their eggs on the milkweed leaves, and their caterpillars eat the leaf of the milkweed, which is toxic to most creatures, and they incorporate the toxins into their bodies, and it makes the monarch toxic as well, which is how it's able to fly all the way to Mexico and not get eaten by a bird or other predator. People often ask what they can do to help support honeybees and native pollinators, and there's a couple things you can do that will really help. One is to buy organic produce, organic grass-fed milk and other dairy products. Since a lot of pollinators are being impacted by pesticide use and herbicide use, that's where buying organic really does matter if you're able to. And of course, organic food often is more expensive and not always easy to find. But if you're near a farmer's market or an organic foods market, that can really help. The other thing, if you have any outdoor space, is you can plant a pollinator garden, or even just some native plants on a balcony or in your local community garden. Planting things like milkweed or butterfly bush or other native wildflowers creates an attractive habitat for native pollinators. And if you want to learn more about National Pollinator Week and also find resources such as suggestions for pollinator-friendly plants, check out their website, pollinator.org. It's just www.pollinator.org, and you can find more information there. And of course, Wave Hill has lots of native wildflowers, and that creates a really attractive environment for pollinators, which is really important. So thanks again for joining another virtual nature tour with me, Gabriel Willow, for Wave Hill, and I hope I'll see you again soon.